All right, I want you to take a very close look at this brief clip of Trump bashing Kamala. We played it for you at the head of the show.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way.
It's the All right, of course, the feminazi women lost their minds about how mean Trump is and blah, blah, blah. And as usual, all the toxic masculinity charges came out again on social media. But there's a major disconnect here intellectually on the part of the communist left. And of course, that is deliberate. They lose their collective mind when Trump says something brashly, accusing him of being mean. Remember all the mean tweets from 2020? All the while being down with children being slaughtered in the womb by being cut to ribbons and sucked out through a high-powered vacuum cleaner. That's okay, and that's a woman's choice. But saying Kamala is dumb, well, that's just too far. First, she is dumb. At least too dumb to be president of the United States. That's obvious by just listening to her talk. And that is when Femi man from ABC, David Muir, hasn't given her the questions ahead of time. She was unable to pass the bar in California the first time around, although 87% of her fellow attorneys in waiting did. Second, the history of her sexual exploits to get ahead in her career, well, they're well documented. We're looking at you, Willie Brown. Third, she participated in a coup of her own president and got the nomination of her party with no plan for anything for the country except continuing the same miserable policies. She's so dumb, in fact, that her campaign is entitled Moving Forward, with her oft-repeated tagline about the need to turn the page, etc., and all that. She doesn't seem to grasp that it is her herself, that we need to be turning the page and moving forward from. At the bottom of all of it is not really any of that, though. It's the hatred, note the word here, the hatred that the left, dudes for Harris included, has for authentic masculinity. Anything that even hints at normal masculinity is immediately labeled as toxic and must be demeaned. But again, in another stroke of her genius, she seems to have not realized that men are almost half the electorate, and while there are certainly a fair amount of betas among them, there are also, on the other side of the human race, a fair amount of women who abhor child murder and the constant denigration of men. Many of those women have sons that they want to grow up to be strong men, even if they are a little brash from time to time. Who cares? Especially when what they're saying is true. They just say it directly, and a giant portion of the population is perfectly fine with that. Just none of the elites, because they hate truth. Trump and his brashness is loathed by the communists because it's a vehicle for truth to be said out loud and for people to pay attention to it, to express openly what everyone else in the room is already thinking. Elon Musk has taken up that standard as well, and as a result, he's being trashed. It's a little more tricky for them to attack Tulsi Gabbard for employing the same tactics because it lands a little differently from them coming from a woman, so they've largely just had to ignore her and focus on RFK, who calls BS on them every chance he can. Kamala is losing male voters in droves, like too many to overcome her strides in the abortion-embracing adulation of her legions, note the word there, legions, of crazed communist womenfolk. Those women hate men, those women do. Actual strong men. And this may be the election that finally sees the giant whiplash against decades of feminazi creep that has relegated and destroyed so many males, accusing them of being unworthy, unfit, rapists, misogynists, and any other thing they can think of. It was only ever weak men that did that stuff to begin with. And it was that same weak man attitude that has brought the nation to the precipice that we are now teetering on. Only 36 days to go. God love you. I'm Gary Michael Voris.